Hello, beautiful people. This is Nicole with Healing Disclosures. It's been quite an end to 2022 and beginning to 2023. I've had a lot of really great um, meditative sessions. I spent a lot of time just processing the energies that's been coming in. As you know, those energies work to everyone's benefit. So whether you are, and I've said this before in other videos, whether you're actively on an ascension journey or not, your DNA and your physical matter, your frequency is rising. It is benefiting from the frequent waves of the high CMEs and solar flashes. And so, um, there may be people around us that are fully activated in a higher frequency. That frequency tends to go out in a diameter from your center of around 6 to 12 feet. For some of us, it's much, much larger. It just depends on what our frequency actually is. Um, but you can be around people, let's say at family gatherings. We just, had the holidays. And all of a sudden you notice that they're a little different. They're not as um, rough to be around like they used to be. And that sometimes is just your frequency pulling them out of whatever funk they've been in, right? Um, because what ends up happening is whether they um, are aware of it or not, whether you're aware of it or not, um, they're being healed, being in your presence. You can bring someone from the dark to the light, just being in their presence, because you're positive and your light and your all things good, your Christ consciousness, and that is a frequency that we hold. And like all frequencies, it has a latent effect, whether someone is aware of it or not. So that's why the inverse of that is to say, don't sleep with your cell phone in the bed, put it away from you so that you don't have that negative effect of the vibration. Well, you have a positive effect from vibration too. Depends on what the frequency is. And we have a positive effect on people depending on what the frequency is. And that I think is great. So yeah, I feel like 2023 is going to be a really big year, and it already is. It's already, there's lots of people that are feeling like they have to make a change, right? And some of us have, we went through that already, right? We went through that to the point where so whenever we encounter those people, it may be someone who you dropped that mustard seed to, right? It may be someone who's just been around you and observed the change in you. And I've said oftentimes, this is not the point in this life or any life when we get to say, I told you so, because that's not helpful. Okay. What we need to be is the light. They have seen the change in us. They have seen us go from being spun up in the chaos of which they are now feeling to finding our peace and finding that inner calm and knowing which end is up. And that is what this video is about today. I just have been feeling and very, very grateful for the path that I'm on. And what I'm most grateful about is that I don't have to feel the uncertainty that I see other people being tormented with at this time. And it's because last year in I guess probably the peak of that for me. I knew without a shadow of a doubt, I couldn't trust what was being told to me by Marge. I couldn't trust a lot of what I was reading. And all of that was manageable in my brain because I had already done the work for the last several years, understanding the depth at which information is controlled and created. Now, we're surrounded by people that still have no clue the depths at which information is controlled and created. That doesn't mean that they don't feel the shift, that they don't feel how incredibly disconnected the information is from what we're actually feeling and encountering. And I think that right there is the key. Okay, I heard someone the other day on one of the news channels. His stance was he used the term secret knowledge. The gnosis of secret knowledge is never good. That's what he said. And it got my attention because that gnosis is exactly what drove me to the truth. The inner knowing that there was definitely more and better, honest history to find, and I wanted to find it bad enough I could. I felt drawn to it. I had never in my life been that person. That was not the norm for me. But again, all the things that I had put faith into prior had failed. I was getting nowhere with that. And so I realized, like someone else very popular, what do you have to lose? So what does anyone at this point in time that is struggling to find the truth, what do they have to lose in terms of doing their own research, following their own intuition, which again is Gnostic, it's inner knowing. And in a sense, it's secret knowledge, but it's so secret for us who were all born with amnesia. We have to find it again. Our souls recognize it when they hear it, when our soul hears it, because they've been there before. This brain that we have today hasn't encountered it before. And so there's a bit of a dance that we have to do with what our intuition is telling us is real, and then coming to terms with that on a 3D, 4D, 5D level, right? And so the things that took us a while to go through, we're expecting the normies to just snap into it. And that's a very unreal expectation. And so I feel like being someone who is always looking to be of help to the greater good, what can I do to help the greater good? Well, I can relate what that feeling is like because we've all been taught to discredit and ignore our intuition. Because that all along could have been what saved a lot of people a lot of heartache, is if they followed their intuition and discounted the stuff their brain was telling them was real. Our brains have been the most manipulated, then our heart. The thing that can't be manipulated is your gut. When you have that icky feeling that you're going to vomit, like you're sick, it does not feel good. That is your gut telling you it is not a good situation. Get away. Go the opposite direction. That is not good for you. That is not in your highest and best good. That's your higher self. That is the Holy Spirit. That is God. Whatever you want to call him. Source creator, prime creator. That is the thing. That is your true north. That should spin you away from anything that makes you feel bad until you can come to terms with it, figure out what's really going on. But we've been taught and manipulated our whole life on earth. We believe what we're told, we believe what we read, and we do what the masses are doing. And we're the greatest at it. And everyone's so upset right now about the government, right? It's the greatest country in the world. Well, it certainly doesn't look like it from my perspective, because the people that are at the people's house, that are out there making laws, passing legislation, getting the back room deals, they are not working for you and me. They are not. By and large, they're working for themselves. And the laws that are getting passed while they are having all the infighting are the same laws that are detrimental to the people, my brothers and sisters, the children of this world, on a different level. So, yeah, it's an embarrassment. We don't look like the strongest country in Earth. We definitely do not. We fall very, very short of that, I think, now. And there is a very large population of people who think like I do. And I don't know how that's going to play out for the masses, but I do know, again, it has brought people right to this point that I'm talking about, where they say, I've been living the definition of insanity because I've been doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different response. And what you need to do is back up. Now, there's things we can do to take our sovereignty back. There's things we can do to take our power back. There's big, grandiose things you can do. There's like big show of force things you can do, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I never picked up a weapon. I never had to go march down the street. My learning, my struggles, my battles, my come to Jesus moments, my tower moments, my shadow work, it was all done in the privacy of my home by myself and Source Creator and all my guides. But I think that's the thing that's been lost. Again, there's quite a list. Knowing, number one, that you have intuition, that you're constructed in a way to steer you toward what feels right and away what doesn't. Learning to trust that when you recognize it. And when you feel confused, when you feel conflicted, when you feel torn between different directions, to have the unapologetic ability to say, that is not good for me. I need to go within and do some soul searching. That is what's been missing. Okay? Because some people don't have a soul. And I'm not saying that conjecturally. They have bartered it away a long, long time ago. So they're walking around doing the things that they're doing, but they have no soul. So they do whatever they do in this life, and then the matter of their body dies off, and that's it. Their soul's already been taken because of a deal that they went into, a contract that they made on a conscious level. It doesn't just happen to people. So there's that. But for people like myself, who I try to really just speak on my own experience, that's definitely safest. You know, I was surrounded by very, very intelligent people. And there were a lot of people that, had I not known what I knew, I had respect for, and I, trusted them. But taking the blinders off and stepping away out of the matrix, getting off of the loop of information that's being fed to you at a high clip, is what allowed real truth to creep in. Truth that when it came in, I felt it. I was like, oh, yeah, this is ugly, but my soul recognizes this truth. And I wish I'd have known it a long time ago. Things would be different for me, but I know now, and I will make better decisions, right? There's the saying, the more you learn, the less you know. Well, it did come to that, and I felt like I knew nothing. Then I had to go back to school. Then I had to write my own textbook, so to speak, find my own truth that was there all along. They just took for granted that they had brainwashed us to be robots enough that people were lazy and would not do the work. And it is work. You have to buy books or go to the library and remember how to check out a book, or find a reputable source, because lots of them are edited, and still have discernment on what you're reading, and reading between the lines and picking up clues and realizing that truth has been embedded in the lies all along. That was a huge aha moment for me, is that people go to the movies and they think of the movies are just so much creativity. And there are a lot more documentary aspects to some of the best movies than you would ever suspect. But once you have a good connection to your higher self and good discernment, you know truth, and you can pick up the little nuances of what's true from what's fake rather quickly. And that gives you your true north, right? That's your compass in the storm. Like, that's how you know the direction you're going in is going to bring you home, because you can have it inside, that feeling that's inside that tells you this is valid, this is real. I believe this with 100% of my being. There's no more of that, okay, my eyes see it and my ears hear it, my brain tells me that it's true, but the rest of my body is saying, I can't believe it. Okay, well, that was happening because it's not true. Not the way it's being presented to you, anyway. Not true at all. And the truth is so much better than the bullshit story they've been feeding us. I'm telling you, the truth is utterly amazing. I need to create some new words, because I feel like I overuse mind blown a lot in my day to day, and it really doesn't do justice to what's happening. But I get mind blown every day. Amazing. So there's some things that have been creeping up. I do a daily, several actually, daily journaling. It just kind of helps source come through, and God, God, what do you want me to know today? And that's that act of writing it out. That energy flows and truth comes forth, and things that may have been kind of more in my subconscious, or things that maybe I was dealing with in a different dimension, will come through in this time. And so I can give it a different level of recognition and thought. So one thing that keeps coming up is the law of one. A lot of people have heard about it. Some people don't know about it. Anyway, the law of one and the universal law are really married to one another. And there's a lot to it, but I'm going to just simplify it and say that the law of one is really Christ consciousness. It is a unity consciousness. It is being in service of others instead of yourself. It's thinking of how you will affect change to the greater good and not just yourself. It is having a unity consciousness where um, if you have the ability to do something that's only going to benefit yourself on one hand, and the other hand, you have the ability to do something that will affect good throughout humanity, and it looks a little less for you, but more for the masses, that becomes a no-brainer for you. Like thinking about yourself as a single individual to benefit in any way, shape, or form falls away. You have zero ego. You are in alignment with Source Creator's path, mission, power, 100%. And anything that deviates from alignment to Source is not good for you. And so it's love, it's compassion, it's kindness, it's self-love, it's respecting all of God's creation. You know, I look at insects differently now. I look at trees and grass and flowers, and where I thought they were beautiful before, I see them as a conscious being now, because souls can be in anything. So the law of one and unity consciousness go hand in hand. So I ask you to do a little research on that and read it and see how it correlates with the person you are today, maybe the person you want to be tomorrow. I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty and chaos, and I think that that's all driving things to a precipice. And those of us that are in alignment with Source, we're not worried. We're not in a fear state. We're blissful, really, because we understand the evolution that's taken place for Mother Gaia and the population of people on a whole. It is not a political issue. It is not a government issue. This is a global evolution that's been in place for a very, 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 very long time. We just happen to be lucky enough to be living on this planet right now while Mother Gaia ascends and we ascend with her for the first time in the history of humanity, in the history of the universe. A planet is ascending and its people are ascending at the same time. Any other time that a planet is ascending, there has had to be an extinction event, and then the planet gets repopulated. So that's why it's been so damn hard. This is not an easy task to be here right now. But we all volunteered, and there was lots of volunteers. We were selected, we were chosen by Source Creator. We contracted this life. Every single bit of the things that have occurred in this life, we contracted to it because it provided lessons for us to evolve as a soul, to be wise enough to be able to have the ability to get off the karmic cycle. We're no longer going to be on the loop of reincarnation. We're done. We've learned our lessons. We're new earth leaders. We're helping guide the masses to the ways of new earth, where it is an elevation of humanity and better for everyone. So you're feeling that divergence, right? You're feeling that the light goes down this path and the dark keeps going down this path, and they are getting further and further apart. That's for a reason. That's by design. Don't fight it. Even if it's the person you spend time with in your life, they are law of one, free will choice. You don't control other people's lives, no matter what the matrix tells you. You have the ability to make your own choices. Whenever you can make those choices and you make them in Christ consciousness and you make them in service of others for the greater good, and you're walking down the lighted path, then you're headed to the light. You're ascending. You're doing things you're supposed to be doing as a God soul. And when you're making the opposite choices, where you're only looking out for yourself and you really don't care what happens to other people, they don't agree with you, then so be it. And that the pathway is getting darker and darker and darker, but they still keep taking those steps down there. That's their free will choice. Their contact with you, now you can have conversations with their higher self and say, my higher self, I do that sometimes. I don't have physical contact with someone, but I know that I love them dearly and I don't want them to not be on the ascension path. And I want them to have every opportunity to join us in New Earth. And so I'll ask my higher self to send their higher self messages if their higher self is in consent and they consent to receive the message. And then there's a little bit of a dialogue there from the higher selves. And then we kind of wait to see how that trickles through to the actual person's consciousness. But it's still, at the end of the day, their choices on what they do with their life and my choice on what I do with mine. So I think the financial instability is, again, another factor that plays into the chaos and the control factor and the fear factor and all those things. Because as long as the currency that moves the world is money, then that's how people will be controlled. And that's really only going to be the case for another few years. And then money will cease to exist because it's not that money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. And it's that thing that people can be leveraged and drive them to do bad things. And so it will come a time where, again, universal law and the law of one, there are many, many societies in the universe that they have some semblance of a value currency, but it is not the only thing that makes the world go round. So if I have a talent of some sort, so let's say I'm an energy healer, right? Because I am, and I go wherever I go, and that person has something, a skill or a trade that I need done, and I can heal them. And so there's an energy exchange. Or let's say I've picked up my art again and I'm painting pictures and I'm doing whatever. I'm creating things with my energy. Then those things have value that may be coupled with energy healing and a meal. I don't know. But it happens all the time. It just doesn't happen in this dimension yet, but it's coming. So be aware of that. The financial things, we have to, it's just a bridge, really. It's a bridge to New Earth. Once New Earth is firmly seated, probably 5 to 7 years from now, and everyone that's there is all higher consciousness beings, all light beings, and we all thoroughly understand and live by the universal laws and the law of one, we don't need money. And I know that's going to be like, what is she talking about? But the further you get down the ascension path, the further you are in elevating your frequency, and you don't have an ego, and you really do want what's best for your brothers and sisters. And you just want people to be happy and thrive and have what they need and not be working themselves to death. And then you realize that other civilizations do that thing right now. We are not the highest functioning civilization in the universe. And so once those civilizations learn the lesson that we learned when they ascended way back, they end up evolving into a higher consciousness being that operates differently. And then society operates differently, and it makes perfect sense. So don't be too hung up on the money thing, because like there's this term gets thrown around all the time, generational wealth. Well, from my experience, generational wealth has produced a bunch of power hungry narcissists who have only been out for their own greater good and not the greater good of the people around them and the people that they made the money off their back. Our generational wealth needs to come from our gnosis, our true biblical truth, our true knowing. How did we actually begin as a species? And where are we going as a species? What are we doing for the greater good? How is our actual education system benefiting anyone the way it is now? And where does it need to go? Healthcare. How much harm does healthcare need to do before they realize it needs to be redone? You are not helping people in the way that you're operating now. So a lot of things are coming to a point where they're going to dissolve, and the best parts about them will get picked back up, and it'll be re-established in New Earth with the proper ideals and the proper motivation of Prime Source Creator. I want to say, yes, so inner healing is a big thing, right? Because we've lived on this gangster planet for however long you've been alive. You've had some trauma. We all have. Every single star seed has been targeted. Although our lives are unique, when we get together, we find each other, we start talking, and we're like, yeah, same. You know, our energy has only been a secret to us for a while now. So we've been targeted. We need to heal that trauma. We need to remember or discover what self-love is. We need to understand that good, healthy boundaries are indeed good and healthy. To find the balance between living lovingly toward yourself and lovingly toward others. You cannot be constantly giving, and never ask for anything in return, or never be selfish enough with your own energy that you give it all away. Okay. And that was a chronic problem for me because of being an RN for, over 20 years. And I went into the hospital system in the military in 1991. And so my entire adult life has been giving way more than I ever received back. And so I've been in an energy deficit basically my entire adult life. And then I wonder why I felt so bad. So understanding what caused that inner trauma, that turmoil, that core wound, healing it, dealing with the shadow, putting it behind you, not revisiting the pain because that opens that wound back up again. Keep evolving up the staircase. You want to keep going up. You don't want to keep visiting the lower vibrational areas. You want to stay on the high vibrational areas. And we all have to dip down here and there. That's just life. But you really want to stay focused on protecting your energy. There's been a lot of things that like invitations that have come to me over the last couple of weeks, and I've declined because I knew the situation would require so much more for me to protect my energy than what I would actually be giving or getting. Then I just decided it wasn't worth it. It just really was not worth it. figuring out the truth that's within you is going to give you so much peace and so much calm, and you can relax. You can take a deep breath. Your shoulders won't be like this because you don't know what's coming, and you have the calm and you have the peace inside you because you find truth, and it's not being spoon fed to you. You find it within yourself. Developing your discernment. I have a ton of videos. I talk about discernment. I think in every single one, it's huge. Again, it's that feeling in your gut. It's that voice inside your head that says this is not good for you. You need to turn back and go the other direction. It's that is your discernment. When you develop your discernment, that is your doorway to freedom. And that doorway, the more you practice using discernment, that doorway turns into a freeway where people that are not in your greatest good and they do not serve your greater purpose will just fall away. And you don't even recognize them because you're on the freeway of freedom. And that freeway of freedom is in alignment with Source Creator. That is the only way. That is the only way. So again, unity consciousness for sure. So what is ascension? We talk about this word ascension. Ascension is not a place. Ascension is a frequency, dimension, a state of being, a state of mind, a level of consciousness. And so you will find, once you really are down this path, this ascension path, that people that are not on the ascension journey can be in your same physical space, but it's as if you don't exist anymore because you're actually in a different timeline. I know that's like, but we can maintain a physical space around other physical beings that are in different timelines. And with every decision that we make that kind of levels us up, we timeline jump. Our timelines are jumping all the time. Okay. So whenever I've had this happen where I'm in a store and I go to speak to someone, and it's as if I have no voice and they don't see me. And it's not just one person, it's a lot of people. So I tend to only have verbal, physical encounters with those that are of a like frequency. So the really low vibrational folks, they just don't even see me. I just don't even exist to them. And I see them because I've been there, I've come up above. And you'll learn that as your frequency increases and as you ascend to a certain point, you have the ability to see and interact with lower vibrational beings and lower frequency beings. And then you get to a certain point and you no longer can see them either. So right now I'm in that area where I can see them, but they're not vibrating high enough to be in my energy field. And the ones that are kind of on the cusp, this is another thing that happens all the time too. If I enter a room and there's people in there that are more low vibration and high, they just scatter. They go as far away as they can, like they can feel it's uncomfortable. And then those that are more high vibrational than low, they're attracted to me. They come to me and I don't even know who they are, but they just want to talk. So it is a very palpable effect for sure. The concept of death on earth, right? Is this finality to it. But I've learned that while you're on the karmic loop, you keep reincarnating until you've learned your lessons and you have no more karma to clear up, and you don't have to reincarnate anymore unless you choose to. So your physical form dies, expires. I think that's really where that term came from. The matter in which our soul is existing expires, but our soul is released to go on and either cross over and not have to reincarnate again, or they have more karma they have to count for and they get reincarnated and whatever life they contract, soul contract. So however you prepare in your life for living and death, sometimes you'll get to the death point and your soul is free, and that's it. But death is really, reincarnation is in many cultures, and it's an actual thing. This is not a phenomenon. This is not heresy. This is not demonic. This is not dark. Reincarnation of souls has happened since the beginning of time. Okay. There's some that come right back. There's some that don't come back for 30 years, whatever. Linear time only exists for us. Linear time doesn't exist anywhere else. Okay. So think about that. Human joy is the most extreme when we overcome pain. That occurs with full alignment to source. So when you're dealing with your shadows and you're dealing with your core wounds and you're dealing with the shitty people in your life that have treated you like a doormat, and you deal with how that made you feel, and for some of us, that's very hard to do. But when you actually feel the feelings that treatment caused, and you learn the lesson from it. So sometimes my lesson was that I did not love myself enough to choose someone better. I settled for anyone who gave me attention, whether that attention was good or bad, and it was usually not good. So then that brings you to the next feeling. Self-love, self-hate. Well, I didn't think I deserved love. Well, there's another thing. So whenever you get to all of those spots where you realize, I not only do I deserve love, it's long overdue. And I'm the best one to teach others how to love myself once I actually start to love myself. Then you learn the lesson. And when you are healing, that healing is given in a snap. And you move forward. And that trauma no longer can harm you because the pain has delivered the lesson. And then and your soul knows why you contracted to have that happen to you in this life to begin with. Where prior to that, you're wondering, why me? Why me? Why me? Victim consciousness, right? And that's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. When you are brave enough to sit there and feel the pain, feel the disappointment, feel the discouragement, and then realize that you played a part in it too. It didn't happen to you, it happened for you. And then you dive into that lesson. That's where you transmute the lead to gold. And Source Creator is on the other end of that, clapping, and his arms are open, and Mother Sophia's arms are open, and they are ready to give you the biggest hug because you did it. And they knew you could. They've just been waiting on you to figure it out for yourself. So awareness to what your frequency and vibration can do is a big thing. Most people are really just tuned into 3D. Most people that you encounter are not going to be 4D, 5D. But that's changing, and it's changing every day. And I asked my higher self the other day a question that I asked my higher self when I first got activated a few months back in August. And the question is, do light beings outnumber dark beings? And this is not a skin tone question. This is a soul question. Beings of the light, source creator, do they outnumber beings of the dark, Satan? When I first asked that question, the answer was no. And it was confirmed by other people. When I ask that question now, the answer is yes. And it's been confirmed by other people. And that is huge. That is huge. We are winning. It looks like we won in certain timelines, but we're not there yet. We got to keep working. And we are winning. So please, please, please stay positive. Do your research. When you see people getting spun up, or you feel spun up, or you feel complete chaos, realize there is an easy way out of the chaos. Just step off the hamster wheel and that bad information loop that we've been living in, and tune into yourself. Okay, there are guided meditations on YouTube. I always kind of go to the same ones that Mother Sophia guides me toward. I know that they are the light. Anything new that comes across, I always ask, is this content of the light, is it accurate and to be trusted? That's how I decide whether to do it or not. Check out my other videos. There's information in there that, if you're just starting on this path, just go back to the beginning. You'll see my progression. It's all been there for you guys to critique, follow along with, use as a guide, know what feels good, what doesn't feel good, whatever. All I can say is that every single day there's more and more confirmation that this path is definitely full of light, full of love, full of compassion. The best is yet to come. There are lots of good things that are going to be happening soon. And shoot me some questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Realize that people around you may not always have your best interest at heart. In fact, they probably don't have your best interest at heart. They have their own. And when you're searching for truth, the best place to start is inside you. And people that have an agenda won't tell you that. They want you to buy into their truth. Well, your truth may be different from my truth. Doesn't make it not true, right? So the best place to start is inside you. Because if you have work to do, that's where you have to do it. No one else can do it for you. When your guides, your angels, your ascendant masters, source creator, Mother Sophia are there waiting for you to ask for them, they won't come in. They won't come to you unless you ask. Again, law of one. They need your consent, and you need to ask for help. But when you ask for it, they are there, right there, 100%. So anyway, I hope this wasn't too long and boring and whatever, not your typical 2023. I'm not big into predictions. I like to do more of what I'm actually seeing happening, feeling happening. And yeah, I'll catch up with you guys again later.